Happy New Year! Can I still say that? When I'm filming this intro, we're about a week into January because everything I'm about to show you I've already gifted because it was Christmas presents, hence why you haven't seen them yet. This video is everything I made as Christmas presents, so they're not like Christmas themed or anything, for 2024. It's something both my husband and I really like to do, is to make gifts. If we are making something for you, you mean a lot more to us than just buying something. And it wasn't the only thing they got. They got other things. People got other things as well, but we always like to include a little homemade something in there because of the fact that I definitely bit more off than I can chew in terms of what I was making for Christmas, including the stockings. Like, I didn't even finish them. They were not hemmed by the end of it. That's on my to-do list before I pack them away for next year. I did way too much, as was the theme for 2024, I think. I didn't talk through anything as I was doing it. So, slightly different style of video. These are all going to be voiceovers as I try to remember what I did, why I did it, other decisions I made, and I really would say excuse the last project 5, because that was chaotic. Not only did it take longer than I anticipated, and so I was definitely sewing to the wire on that one. We had Storm Dara in the middle, and that sent anxieties. I am sure I'll show you, or I'm sure you'll see where that was. I suppose the first project I'm going to show you, I could have showed you earlier because it's for the dogs. Without further ado, here's what I made for Christmas 2024. Yeah, so the first project were those dog coats that I mentioned. Now for this, I used those scrap pieces that I had left over from the Fox waterproof coat that I made as my very first video here on YouTube. And here's me just sorting out the pile to find out where the biggest bits were, because even though I have small dogs, they still require a fair bit of fabric, you'd be surprised. In terms of patterning, I actually traced a couple of their jackets, so I got a good fit, and even then the Yorkshire Terrier's coat does not fit. And then it was a case of trying to fit these pieces on the scraps that I had, and fortunately the only thing that's directional with this fabric is the print, because it's essentially a plastic, it's melted and moulded. There's no like directionality to the fabric, there's no such thing as a grain or a bias, so that doesn't matter, it's just visually what looks best. I also bought a polar fleece that you can see here to make a nice lining. I deliberately got like a black kind of polar fleece, and I know the wrong side of the fabric is flocked anyway, but I thought the black polar fleece, one, it enables me to enclose those raw edges, not that they would fray, but it just gives a better professional look. But also the black colour, if the dogs get dirty or whatever, it doesn't show as much, so it's better for like the longevity of the items. Now, as for construction of the garment, you have to make the straps for the underbelly separately and also the collar, and then you trap them between the outer and the lining layer. And then I typically like to clip around the curve of the collar so it lays a bit nicer. And then I decided to top stitch all the way around to get a nice crisp, sharp finish. And lastly, you add Velcro. Now, I have always hated Velcro because I've always been bought, when I was a child, the sticky back stuff. For some reason my mum prefers that, but I found it always gummed up the machine and I hated having to use it. This stuff I didn't know till my adult years that you could buy non-sticky, just simply sew in Velcro. Again, I chose black for the Velcro to prevent dirt and dust and all of that picking up in it. But yeah, this stuff, so much easier to work with. youngest sister has got into reading recently, so I made her this super duper handy book sleeve, so when she throws her book in her bag for her vacation. And I just made it out of a piece of fabric that I got from Moods, originally to, I think, alter some jeans, but they became a denim jacket instead. And so yeah, I had this yard of kind of fabulous fabric. I also made some matching bookmarks with an infamous saying of hers on them, so hope you enjoy them. Middle sister now, and this is where the chaos begins. This was just such a big and bulky project that a lot of this prep was all done on the floor, so I'm really sorry that you're not seeing everything here, but quite literally this is just a simple square rectangular bag but heavy duty for her nail table, because she is a nail tech. If you've ever wondered why my nails are usually looking fabulous, it's because she's done them. Occasionally they look a bit crap, and that's probably because I've done them, so don't judge her work on those. But yeah, quite simply, I based my design off that fabulous webbing strap I found. She really loves burgundy and khaki colours, so that was fantastic. And then it's a heavy-duty waterproof material and simple bias binding. I did do a double layer on that bottom panel, and also the those sections at the front are a pocket for the little bits that you might need as a nail tech. I don't really know what she has, but yeah, super handy, and she actually really loves it. Now on to the dads. I actually made them the same thing, which is a flat peak hat, similar to what you would see on Peaky Blinders. Now for this, I actually used a tutorial from a fellow YouTuber on here called Mad Cap Hats, I think. I will link it in the description below. But as I made them the same thing, I am only going to show one version, and that is my dad's version. And for this one, I used a lovely herringbone tweed in a nice blue colour, because Ipswich Town are the blues, come on you blues. And for the lining, I had scraps from a Liberty dress that I made. I also used the same kind of fabric for the lining of my father-in-law's one that you'll see in the reveal. But yeah, I mostly followed that tutorial. Not exactly, but mostly. But to break it down briefly for you here, you need to cut out all your pieces from your outer fabric, but make sure you get 2 of those peak pieces. And then just the head pieces, so that's the main bit that goes over the top that looks like a fish to me, and the 2 side pieces out of your lining fabric. You are also meant to include a sweatband, but I don't bother. This is where I said I sort of followed that tutorial. Now, I also like to interface, at least with this particular fabric. The wool was a bit flimsy, a little bit soft, and just that futable interfacing just gives it a little bit more stability and structure, which I like in a flat peak hat. You don't have to do it, it's not a necessity. But yeah, then it's a case of just sewing it together and top stitching everything. Oh, and the peak, I made those, I actually made them in the States. I cut them out of a very heavy duty interfacing, sewing interfacing that I bought, and I think they're all double layered. But yeah, I had this heavy duty interfacing, was looking to get rid of it somehow, and thought my husband and my dad and my father-in-law all like a flat peak hat, so I'll pre-cut a load of these peaks ready for when I have scraps to make hats. Yeah, that's how I make a flat peak hat, but if you want better instruction, do check out that tutorial from Madcap Hats here on YouTube. And also to get their free pattern, I can't remember what size it is, but they have more sizes available for sale, I believe. the infamous Project 5. Now this is another denim jacket, so why I underestimated how much time this was going to take, I have no idea now. So I actually started off with the motif on the back. This is a South African protea, or it's meant to be, hope you can tell. This is for my sister's boyfriend who is South African, and he said he would really love this as a concept when he saw my husband's jacket. So I wanted to make sure I could make that flower look semi-decent before I got into the meat of the jacket, if you like. So this is filmed over multiple days, even weeks, but it was a complex thinking of putting together. And yeah, same with when I was cutting out that denim. Finding enough space for all these pieces, especially when you're doing a large jacket, it's quite difficult. And I just didn't have enough. There was literally no way I could get that back yoke piece out of one or even two halves. Like, I had to piece it together and patchwork it in such a way. But I wanted this to look intentional, so I did go online and I did research different South African symbolism, but it had to be something I could patchwork as well, something nice and simple. Now, I was trying to work this out on a Friday night, quite late, just as Storm Dara was rolling in, and then suddenly all of our phones. So I promptly put my sewing down for the night and went panic buying for food in Asda. The next day I settled on using that pyramid structure in the centre of the South African coat of arms because I felt like I can make some triangles and sew them together. And I used the denim variation in colour in the pockets. I don't know if you've ever looked inside your back pockets on the jean, but if you've got an acid wash or something on the jeans, the inside of the pocket will be darker usually. But yeah, I used the variation in the colours of denim to create that. So it's a case of patchworking this together. Obviously on the back there'd be a load of seams, so I decided to line that piece. It's not the whole back yoke, it's just that centre portion of the yoke. And I also cut the pockets out of the same fabric that I'm lining, which is the same old bedsheet that I made the lining for the stockings for. We love to reuse, repurpose and recycle in this household. So it's not only the motif design that varies in this version of the jacket, as well as the denim placement, but also the type of seam I used. Now, I don't know why, but when I made Harry's jacket, I just did standard seams and then split them open and top stitch them down, which is not what you tend to do with denim. You tend to do a flat fell seam. So here I'm being all professional, and all the seams, apart from the applique and the patchwork, were flat fell seams. And honestly, it gave a much better, higher quality product at the end, and I'm much happier with it than I am with Harry's. But you know, that's what we do. We are learning here. But yeah, I'm now freehand appliquing, that's a hard word to say, the back motif on the back panel, and I did that before assembling the jacket. It's just so much easier, and you can also trap in bits into the waistband if you choose and that sort of thing. And then it's time for those welt pockets. Now, I have made welt pockets. I have made welt pockets on this screen. I have followed this tutorial before, but for some reason, this first welt pocket on this jacket, I sewed the same line like probably 3 times. No, I had to give up. So bear with while I do this off screen and have a bit of a cry. Actually, that was totally dramatic, and as soon as the camera went off, I nailed that pocket the first go. So here's the second pocket going much more smoothly. Thank goodness. So after the pockets and a few other little bits, you stitch the front and back pieces along those shoulder seams, still using flat fell seams there. Assemble the sleeves. Not quite, you're just joining the front and back portion so you still have a flat seam, because I actually looked at the instructions this time and inserted the sleeves in the way that they suggest, where you have the jacket flat open, sew in the sleeve head first, and then do the side seam all in one. And yes, that's a lot easier than the way I did it last time. Then you repeat it on the other side, and then my thoughts turned to the detachable lining, because of course I'm doing a detachable lining. Now, I thought I had enough of that Sherpa to do a full detachable lining. I did not. So this time it's only a body warmer style detachable lining, and actually I was quite clever this time, and when I had my front and back flat pieces all assembled, I used those as a pattern to cut out the Sherpa, so I didn't have to piece all of those together like you do the jacket, and that was a lot easier, a lot cleaner, and definitely recommend that. And will remember that if I make another denim jacket, which it's me, I'm probably going to make another denim jacket. But yeah, other than no sleeves, everything else is the same. So magnets in that collar to connect the two together, which also allows the wearer to wear the jacket without the lining, but not having any visible attachments on the denim collar itself. Oh, I almost forgot here, but I remembered just in the nick of time. I wanted to include a loop to be able to hang the jacket up. So I repurposed one of those belt loops, and it took a little bit of finessing to get it laying just right. But yeah, I've got a little loop to hang the jacket up. And on the lining, I did leave a little post hole in the same position to be able to pull that loop through, so the loop can be used whether the lining is in or out. All that's left is to finish the jacket with the cuffs. I did that the same way, that Harlequin effect. The waistband, again, I used the original waistband from two of the jeans, and again using that Harlequin effect. And buttonholes, and I don't know if I said this, but I've always hated buttonholes. I've never been good at them. I couldn't work out for whatever reason how to use the automated buttonhole maker. Well, I've worked it out now, and it's super simple, and I'm an idiot. There you have it. They were all the gifts I sewed for 2024. I don't know if I'm going to continue this every year, but that was this year anyway. But I guess I must make something for my mother at some point, because she made a comment how she was my least loved because I didn't make her anything. Harry did, but apparently that's not good enough. I must make her something. I did say at the end of my last video, I wrote it on screen, about my resolutions. Definitely moving into 2025, I'm going to try and stop sewing so closely to when I want these things, or even making, because I have already started some other hobbies or revisited some other hobbies of mine, because I love sewing, do not get me wrong, but I have missed so many other hobbies, and now I'm back in the UK, I can actually do these other hobbies that I wasn't able to, or at least not affordably, whilst I was in New York. I have already started the year and done 2/3 of one project, but that won't be coming out until June, because that is also a gift of sorts. But basically, I'm gonna have a lot more variation on this channel. We're hoping to move a house, like we're hoping to buy a house. So hopefully there'll be a moving vlog, maybe some decoration vlogs. I don't know at this point. I don't know what the house is going to look like, so I don't know what I want to do to it yet. But yeah, so it's going to be a bit different. This is also like a new hobby. The actual editing of videos takes skill and time, and it's something I'm still learning. I know I'm not great at it yet. So I want to make sure I do these ahead of time. give myself time to do it. Things aren't necessarily going to be filmed in order, but hopefully you'll enjoy my year of hobbying. It's really the year I want to get back in to many of my hobbies. Baking, ceramics, definitely on my list is bookbinding. I have an old copy of Narnia that is literally falling apart, so I am determined to repair that and rebind that as a practice run, and then if that works, I have loads of books that I want to rebind. And why not throw in forage painting with that as well? So that will be coming soon-ish, I hope. The next video I'll be back sewing, because I still have not made Harry's waterproof flight suit that he was requested, and he requested that around the time of the fox coat. So my first ever video on here. So finally getting around to that. Hopefully 2025 will be my year of hobbying, and if that sounds fun to you, join me again and hobby along. Bye!